Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Aside from the quarterbacks, probably the biggest, I think the biggest storyline outside of watching the quarterbacks at Saints OTAs the last 3 weeks has been the offensive line shuffle. We know what they did in the draft, drafting Kelvin Banks, and so there was this question, would Banks play left guard? Would he play right tackle? Would he play left tackle and move Taliese Fuanga? And if you move Fuanga to right, would you move Trevor Penning? So there was this big question, and we got our answer really very quickly. It was the first OTA that the media was available to go watch, and we saw a new look offensive line from left to right with Kelvin Banks and Trevor Penning, Eric McCoy at center, Cesar Ruiz at right guard, and Taliese Fuanga at right tackle, where he played in college. And it never moved. It wasn't like, okay, well, now let's shift it around and see what Banks looks like at right tackle or what Banks looks like at left guard. And anyway, that's been the offensive line. And there's no reason to think it's going to change at all moving forward. Ellen Moore, when he met with media after Thursday's OTA, did talk about Trevor Penning and his move to guard. And the way the question was asked was about Penning's size. Like, was size the factor in moving him?
I think certainly, you have to be able to anchor in this league in some capacity. And so you're going to get bull rush. If someone can run through you, there's going to be challenges no matter what the circumstance is. And so Trevor playing a guard, he's got size, he's got mass, he's got physicality that's going to be perfect for that position. And obviously, our experience the last couple spots everyone's been has had those guys go from tackle to guard, so we feel good about the transition.
Penning is 6'7", 325, if you're not familiar. So he's a massive player. And that was sort of the book on him when he came in from Northern Iowa was he was just mean, physical, aggressive, point of attack player. And the Saints drafted him to be a tackle, to be their franchise left tackle. And since they drafted Trevor Penning, they've now drafted 2 more tackles, clearly underscoring the fact that Trevor Penning is not going to be a tackle in the NFL. So now he's moved to guard. And Penning on Thursday, for the first time in these OTAs, talked about that decision to move to guard. And this is Penning explaining those conversations that he had with the staff about the move.
Kind of brief. It was just like, hey, Kellen and Nuge, they brought me up, and I kind of had an idea. I'm like, they're probably going to move me, which, I was excited for. Brought me in. They're like, hey, we're going to try to guard. We think it's the best for you. And I'm like, I couldn't agree more, and I'm really excited for it. And I like that he's down for it. Let me give you a contrast. Taysom Hill. Now, Taysom has been a great New Orleans Saint, and he has done a lot of things exceptionally well. Taysom Hill wanted to play quarterback. And so remember, there was the offseason when Drew retired, when Taysom Hill went through the whole process of reshaping his body from the Swiss Army knife role to losing weight, getting a little leaner, getting a little more flexible, limber to be able to play the quarterback position instead of bulking up to be able to block and play tight end and cover kicks and punts and things like that. And so it's fair to wonder how much time did Taysom Hill lose by continuing to try to pursue the quarterback dream when he should have been all in all along on the Swiss Army knife role. It's just one way to illustrate how guys may address a certain thing. I mean, you've had guys who have switched positions, and that's not uncommon. I mean, you have Juwan Johnson, who was drafted as a wide receiver and is playing tight end in the NFL. So sometimes you see those transitions, but guys don't always do it willingly. Penning very clearly, now he's still on the offensive line, so it's not what and what, but he's very clearly saying, I couldn't agree more, that this accentuates what he's able to do. And as a matter of fact, when he was asked about how in 3 weeks he's taken to playing guard, he effectively said that. I think for me, the things that I do well, I think fit better at guard. Not to say I don't think I can't play tackle, but in the run game, especially at guard, I think the things I do well, really I can shine at guard.
Yup.
It's something that the organization probably should have seen when he was coming out of Northern Iowa, and certainly should have seen any of the last 3 years. However, their need at tackle prompted maintaining him at tackle on one side. And also, if we're just being completely candid, the fact that you invested a first-round pick in Trevor Penning, and they traded up. Remember, they traded back into that round. They took 2 first-rounders that year with Olave and Penning. Because you had so much investment in the player, you had to give it every shot to maximize whatever that was. Started left tackle, then to right tackle, now to guard. And hopefully this is the spot where you settle and realize, this is where he needs to be. In his career, it's where he needs to be. So, I look at Penning, and I went back and looked at his PFF grades, and we talk about PFF a lot here, and it's not necessarily, for Penning. PFF is, we always say it's a metric, it's not the metric, but specifically for offensive linemen, I think PFF is really key because you don't have stats. There's no completion percentage or rushing yardage or yards after contact. There's no stats you can go by with an offensive lineman. So you kind of have to look at their grades. And when you look at Trevor Penning, there's one gigantic outlier. In his 3 years in the NFL, 22, 23, 24, there's one gigantic numerical outlier grade-wise when you look at his run blocking grades, his pass blocking grade. Now remember, as a rookie, he was injured for much of that season. When he got healthy late, he was really just a tackle eligible. He only played 124 snaps. In 2023, it's when they started him at left tackle, and they very quickly realized he is going to get somebody killed. And so he went to the bench and was basically the glorified tight end, the blocking tight end, all that stuff, the six-man, the tackle eligible. He played 417 snaps. Last year, he played in every game at right tackle and had over 1,000 snaps, which was awesome to see that at least he was available. What did Mike D always say? The best ability? Availability. But when you look at his grades, his overall grades, his pass blocking grades, his run blocking grades, there's one gigantic outlier, especially in his starting seasons the last 2 years. And it is his run blocking grade from last year, where he graded out at a 70.1. By contrast, the year prior, so in 2023, when Trevor Penning was playing left tackle, his run blocking grade in 2023 was a 49. Moves over to the right side, 70.1. Look at his pass blocking grades the last 2 years. At left tackle, he was actually better, 60.8. Last year at right tackle, 51.6. Again, the one statistical outlier, the really good grade, was his run blocking grade a year ago. Yes, he is a run blocker. He is 6'7", 325. He is physical. His footwork is not good enough to play tackle in the NFL and exist on an island, but he's a big, strong, physical run blocker. What were you atrocious at last year? Running the football. You were 31st in the NFL in rushing offense, and a big part of that was the revolving door you had, in particular, in the interior of the offensive line. When Eric McCoy got hurt, Lucas Patrick moved from left guard to center, and yet Cesar Ruiz, these guys, with this revolving door. I mean, your tackles were two young players that were pretty steady, but your interior was what was so much in flux. If Penning can be available and help pace your interior run game, awesome. Look, I get it. Whenever you take a player in the first round, they have to be a starter. Like, that's how you qualify a first-round pick. It's someone that has to come in and be a starting player for you, not a depth piece, not a rotational guy. First-round picks have to be starters. And Trevor Penning, they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, and rightfully so, because he hasn't proven he can be a consistent starter in the NFL. But he's finally going to be playing the position that best suits him, and the best news of it is he's eager to do it. I mean, you heard his own words there, talking about how it suits what his strengths are. Great. That'll probably take a big load of pressure off of his shoulders when you have guys actually in the right seat on the bus. This happened with Andrus Peat a decade ago, y'all. They took Andrus Peat with a mid-first round pick out of Stanford. He was a left tackle in college. He projected as a right tackle in the NFL. We all knew it. And it just never worked for him at right tackle. And so he became a good starting left guard.
He was never a dominant player, but he was a good starting caliber player, kind of like Cesar Ruiz is right now. He's a starter in the NFL. He's not a dominant starter, but he's a starting caliber player in the NFL. And that's what you have to get from first-round picks. And maybe that's finally what we're going to see from Trevor Penning here, that he's at the right position. You've made a massive investment in your offensive line. Of your 5 projected starters, 4 are first-round picks, and the 5th is Eric McCoy, who you used a second-round pick on, but he was the highest drafted player in that year's draft by the New Orleans Saints. They didn't have a first-round pick that year. So you have this massive investment. You've got to make good on it. To keep Tyler Shuck upright, to pace a running game, which was second worst in the NFL a year ago, you've got to be able to be better offensively, and it starts in the trenches. The Saints have made the investment to build inside out, and a guy like Trevor Penning can be a big part of that. And Penning actually also talked about this offensive line, this unit as a whole right now with all of this investment and talent.
I think we've made some good strides. KB coming in, he's done a great job so far. Eric, he's being that leader we need on the O-line. Cesar, same as that. And Tally, I think he's taken, a good step forward even from, the end of the season last year. You can see the improvement, and you can tell he's been working, and, I'm super excited for, everyone.
And now it's time. Now it's time to make good on that. By the way, I want to correct myself. I said 31st in rush. They were 31st in rush defense last year. They were middle of the pack in the NFL in rush offense at 114 yards per game. But it's got to be able to improve back into the top, certainly the top 10-ish in the NFL, considering the investment you have in this offensive line. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.